Hello everyone, Chadin over here, and the servers online things are down now, and we are getting ready for the new 1.1 Harbingers of Ruin update. This is the new build that I'm going to try and play. This is of course an initial theory craft of the build. If you don't know what my builds are about, they are about Lethal Mirage. Ignore these dancing strikes here, it's really a puncture, but for some reason I can change it on the planner. And now this is the thing that we are going to use in this new 1.1 update. It's called the Black Blade of Chaos. Has a cool thing, BBC, everyone knows. And it helps with, let's say, doing lots of lethal mirages in a short amount of time. Usually when you were clearing or you were doing a lot of things, you had that time, even with two fulgurage shards and things like that, it still had quite a little bit of cooldown. Of course, this also goes into the thematic of the lightning based lethal mirage. I will also do a physical one and bleed one, but that is for another video. So first of all, if you haven't seen any Lethal Mirage gameplay, I'm going to show you a fast clip that I did killing Julra in the last season. This is patch 1.0.3 back in March. And let me show you.
The Epoch! I will have it! Still.
As you can see, we do a lot of damage really fast, and we use a combo, let's say. So the first thing we do is we make sure that we have 0 lethal cadence stacks. You don't know what it is this that increase our damage by 100%. If we didn't use the thing that made everything go to shock, we would get disemboweled too, but we are not using it. Of course, this build is different than the other one because we can't do a wield as we are using a two-handed weapon. So we are not speccing into Twin Blade, of course, Duelist, or Flash of Steels, or things that make us do extra physical flat damage. Because as far as I know, they don't get converted. There are some free points that I will explain later, but that is just so you know. You want 0 lethal cadence, and there we are going to use the flow mechanic to get as much damage as possible. We are not going to use pulls because it's not needed, as shift already gives us a lot of damage, and also 100% critical strike chance. Same reason as we don't need the critical vulnerability or the extra critical strike chance that we get in many of our talents. This of course makes it with the gear that we have. Back then I didn't use the Usenui's sphere. I didn't know it existed, but I did use the Julra's star dial. I will explain a little bit later, but this gives us a lot of damage. And then the combo that we will do in this case is go and synchronized strike. Thanks to some talents, this gives us different buffs that we are going to use to our advantage. And then we do one dancing strike that in this case, in this new build, we will replace with a puncture. We will do one puncture, and afterwards we are going to wait a little bit for the Bion's Chariot thing. And as we have our Bion's charge buff and everything ready, we are going to use Lethal Mirage and of course do a lot of damage, and if we have enough gear, kill almost any boss that can be killed. Now that is the initial gameplay and insights that I wanted to show you. Now we are going to go into gear and other mechanics that we are going to use to our advantage. Now, as you can see here, this is super unique heavy in my, let's say this is the ideal situation. What does this mean? We don't really need everything here. This just does a lot of damage. Same here with the idols. I'm going to explain something like that. I wanted to put one of the good ones that I think are effective for this build, because remember, usually the ones that I used were for dual wielding or things like that. Those of course do not work anymore. So you want these ones that give critical strike multiplier and armor shred effect. And here you have armor shred on hit chance, of course. And I put elemental resistance, but you can also put armor shred duration if the boss gets longer. Of course, elemental resistance is good because it lets you get less stats on your gear and put, for example, extra life, because we really like life. And also another thing, there comes a time when you have so much damage that instead of these Maya-san idols, you can use 2 stout Lagonian idols more. Here 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And maybe even you can take this one out and put one of these, another one with armor and health, or maybe some resistances that you may need. And in this case, go full defensive on your idols and you will still do a lot of damage. It will also free up slots for your things. Now, another thing, I really recommend you that you are Merchant Guild for this build, because there are some uniques that are really annoying to farm or get. One of those is, of course, Bion's Chariot. As you can see here, I don't even put one with legendary potential. This may change thanks to the new mechanic that lets you put the thing in the Harbinger of Ruin, and it can get extra stats and extra things. That is really good, because that means you can get a Bion's Chariot with a good roll. It's actually quite hard to get one with a good roll. You want, of course, all resistances and a lot of more damage and good move speed, because move speed increases your damage. Now, fighting chance, it's whatever. You can use some exalted gloves or other gloves that have good stats. This is good because, of course, it gives the most damage, increasing our melee damage by up to 85%, and also increased movement speed. If you get the 10% roll, it's also another 10% damage increase from Bion's Chariot. As you can see here, I had some area for area skills, but that is whatever. The important ones are, of course, dexterity, and then you want health, hybrid, if possible, tier 7, and then the other health or resistances if you need. Same thing with rings. I put mana regen because we use passive that it's called coated blades. Is our strongest source of damage, but makes gameplay difficult. That's why you see my mana, even if I have 200, I went down to 40 because synchronized strike costs almost 100, and then everything costs 40 extra. I really recommend you don't put points in coated blades until you are ready with a good mana pool and decent regeneration. Otherwise, you are going to suffer even clearing. Although clearing right now it's really easy. In the other video I can show you that you will have, of course, the link in the description, etc. And in that one you just go doing shift and lethal mirage. This may be even faster now because the sword makes it so you get a lot of the cooldown back. Now, as for the necklace, I am using an Omnis to get, of course, +1 to skills and also all of the resistances with good rolls. You can, of course, use other necklaces like one rare. For the longest time, I was just using one of the bone necklaces that has physical and also the other resistance, or you can use one that has life. That extra percent life helps a lot. There is a new neck called Nihilis that also has a huge range that you can get a lot of mana, a lot of health, movement speed. Remember, this is damage. All skills, this also damage. Mana regen, also damage. Armor, it's not bad. And all resistances. Of course, everything here has a huge roll range, so if you don't get a good one, it's likely that maybe it's worse than an Omnis or worse than a normal amulet. Now, of course, I'm using one with tier 7 increased lightning damage. It's our main source of damage, but if you already have enough damage, you can put, of course, life and other things like critical multiplier. This is also a new helmet. You see that I put this as 3 LP, but it's really likely that it's hard to get at that. So I'm just going to talk about the most important mod. It's +4 to the level of synchronized strike. This is, of course, to help us get the cooling to 15% and also other things that I will explain. And in the last season, I was actually using a rare helmet. There were things that you could use like the Von Clamor Barbut and others, and the Decade School ones that gave a strong defensive things, but you could not really get those on 4LP. This is almost the same, but this gives a little bit more of defensive stats that we need, and also mana and mana regeneration. Something that we really like. Also, endurance threshold, as you know, as rogue is really OP because we already have the Death's Door that makes low life effective HP a lot stronger, and it helps with that. So the important, of course, level of synchronized strike. And now on our chest, the important one here is 2 extra Mirages. The mana efficiency roll, it can be whatever, you don't care about that. You should have always enough mana to do that. And then shred armor and increased health. Of course, I put it at 3 LP because Ursil Sprite is not a super weird chest to get. Even at 2 LP, it's quite easy. And of course, health in this case, it's better than shred armor, but if you can get both, it's good. Of course, the best thing you could get is also the flat health as 4 LP, but we don't care that much. This also helps our mana regeneration and gives us some very needed armor, strength for even more armor, and never bad to get some mana. This combo is also one of the reasons why Merchants Guild is kind of wanted, because it's really hard to find or farm the Orovis Unix. Like, for example, in all of the time I was playing, I only dropped 2 Shattered Chains because I was not spamming Orovis a lot. I was lucky and I did get one Omnis, but it was 0 LP. So, of course, this also comes back to the new mechanic of the league, making us be able to get one with good rolls with 0 LP, and then maybe upgrading it to be able to use it. Now I put cooldown recovery on this belt, but this is for kind of the old build. You want on your belt and on your boots hybrid health, of course, it's really good, and then this cooldown reduction because it also helps with shift. Shift is our really good movement ability. Now we will also have evade, but we don't really care that much about that as rogue. Of course, you can do a double tap and just go around, but Siphon of Anguish, if you don't know what it does, Doom increases the damage on mob stake by melee damage, so it's really good. The penetration is whatever. Increased movement speed, of course, it's extra damage that we get. And then the implicit itself is also really good, up to 18% elemental resistance. The Jewel's Style Dial, I already talked about it before. You have the 4 seconds to get this powerful buff. If you take notice on the video, the buff actually almost ran out when I was already doing the Lethal Mirage cast. So now if it goes even faster, maybe you get more damage. Of course, everything gets tripled when it procs, so you want the mana and mana regen roll high, but you don't care about the mana spent as ward or the spell damage. Of course, you want to get the increased lightning damage there, or elemental if you can't. Now, Shatter Chains, you get a lot of melee damage. You don't care about the void melee damage as much. Armor is never bad. And then you get, of course, 5% even more melee damage on that. Now for the last item, that is the normal place. As you know, using Luis Sphere, it's something that is really good. Even where you are clearing, you are going to notice it. You also get up to 40% increased lightning damage for the implicit. I have 4 lethal mirage here. That is the important one, but it's not that weird to get a 3 LP one at least, or a 4 LP if you really are lucky. And the rolls, we don't care that much about them, so even getting a 3 LP, whatever, you want to get, of course, lethal mirage, and then some resists that you can get to fill the ones that you already have. Now, for idols, as I talked before, you can put full stouts and small Lagonian idols, or use these ones that are the ones that give the most damage, the Majasan ones. I think there is a way to fit 4 of them, but I don't really think it is necessary. Like, you can put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then 1 here, but that would give you even less to work around. Of course, these ones are whatever. You can use full defensive ones and get a lot of health. Up to 3k you can get if you go full in on here, and also get good hybrid health rolls on your belt and your boots. Now, for blessings, of course, as you know, the ones that increase the relic and things or whatever, I'm using the void resistance one. It's really good. They can get the void resistance of void shred if the new void melee damage and other things are good, and you're also overcapped on the void resistance. But be aware that some mobs have void shred, so you may want to be overcapped a little bit. This is whatever. Now you want to shred lightning. This is the most important one, because this is our only way to get shred lightning chance. And of course, the highest you get, the better. Relic shard rate is whatever. All resistances, never bad. There is also another that can give, I think, fire resistance, but we don't really want that one. Instead, all resistances is way better. The class specific is whatever. Physical resistance, it's never bad, and it's also a huge roll, same with the void one. And endurance is also really noticeable, and it can roll up to 30%. Now, I'm going to talk about our skills first. For skills, we want to use the ones over here. I'm going to begin, of course, with shift, as is the one of the leftmost. You want these ones, and right now we have 1 extra point that we are getting from Omnis. So the 1 extra point will be just this one that you would take out, and here you will have 20 points. It's really important. Here you get recovery speed and mana efficiency. You don't really care about the mana efficiency, because in the grand scheme of things, when we are with 200 or something mana, and shift does not get increased by coated blades, it doesn't matter that much. And then you want here deadly ambush. You deal more damage. This is a huge multiplier. And also here you also do even more damage, but travel a shorter distance. This makes, of course, shift a skill that is to a lesser extent useful to dodge a lot of mechanics, but the damage that we get is worth it. Now here you get bleed chance, sadly, because 1 point that we get, it's not going to matter. But you want the next ones, that is not this one, but this one. You always crit with your next non-channeled skill. This makes, of course, very useful for us to play with it, as you don't really need to care about critical strike chance or critical vulnerability or the critical strike avoidance on some mobs. Of course, some mobs will have a critical strike avoidance higher than that you can deal with, and you will not crit them. But that does not matter. Now here you leave one shadow in your place after you shift. This is also important because of Lethal Mirage consuming all shadows, and we also getting one extra shadow after we use the synchronized strike and via passive point. Now puncture, the points are not really hugely useful. We only use this as a filler because we can't use dancing strikes. It will be a better point to put, but here we help with one place that I will talk afterwards in Lethal Mirage. You would just get this extra bleed chance and then this extra bleed chance. Physical shred, we don't care that much. Melee range, we don't care. Armor shred, it's not bad. You will get, of course, more than one stack because you also have a lot of armor shred from other places. It's kind of good. It also has a little bit more of effect. And then shadow daggers. We are going to get 2 stacks of shadow daggers here. It's just this point is good. It's better than anything else here because we don't care about getting 1 mana. We have almost 200. Poison also, it's whatever. You could get like 1 poison, woohoo. We don't do direct damage. We don't care about it. And we don't have points to go anywhere else. This is, of course, going to be our filler after using Synchronized Strike. Same with Umbral Blades. This is just because we don't really need other damaging abilities and we don't have any important things that we can use with a smoke bomb or decoy. I have tried both of them and they are not that useful. And in our case, Umbral Blades with the Cacophony of Steel helps to put extra stacks of Bleed, Shock, Shred Lightning, Doom, and in the case of our new weapon also the Void debuff. This is nothing incredible. You will rush to Cacophony of Steel, then get the point for Lethal Darkness and Umbral Remnant. These will be the things that you would rush first, so that when the shadows expire, you get that Swirly Boy, and also you get Chill. It's good. It doesn't have a lot of freeze rate, but it does something. And the extra point that you get, you can just take this one off. Remember, because we have Omnis. Here you take this one off, and same here. Here you would just take one from the press attack, the one from Frenzy. Now, for Synchronized Strike, this is one of our most important places. And do remember that I put that important to get the +4 Synchronized Strike, but it's not 100% necessary if you really want to go not merchant, but the other place, or you like better a tier 7 mod with defensive capabilities. You would just get a +2 and you would take 2 points of the coordinated cuts. Or if you have enough mana, you could take 2 points of dynamics. Every single other point, it's quite useful. Here we have from this side, getting 2, get extra bleed chance on when we hit. So we begin also with at least 2 physical shreds that we don't care that much about, and some bleed stacks on the mob. Then we get Crimson Shout that gives us 100%, well, 150 because we get 3 Crimson stacks here. And then here, really important, you get extra shadows and extra mana cost. That is why the dynamics is so important. And it creates 2 shadows that don't share the cap. This makes us be able to use 4 shadows or even 5. This point is used to get over here. We don't care about that much. Here we don't care. And we go over here to get the cool. What is called, if you have played Path of Exile or other games, is just when the mob gets to 15% life or less, you can use this ability to execute the mob. You can also do this with Lethal Mirage, but we don't really care that much about it on there because it also costs points to get there. As with Lethal Mirage, this will be our main ability. As I talked before, I was going to explain why bleed was a bit important, and it's because of this point. Sundering Blows gives us up to 60% more damage. That means that when we get 20 stacks of bleed, get 60% more damage. Sadly, it has a little bit of anti-synergy with Shocking Grasp because it makes all of our bleed chance, poison chance convert to shock chance. This makes it so where you are using Lethal Mirage, you are not inflicting any bleed, but in this case, shocking instead. This is why it's important with synchronized strikes, puncture, and the cacophony of blades from Umbral Blades to get those 20 stacks. If you watch my clip, I only got up to 12, but now it's going to be quite easier to get to 20. Now, of course, you also have other 3 really strong points, and are here you get 2 extra mirages, here you also get 2 extra mirages, and here you get Umbral Fist that makes it us do more damage per shadow consumed. You also get here 1 additional hit per shadow, and here just a general more multiplier. You also have here the extra physical damage that will get converted to lightning if you had any extra points going in there, but instead of this 8, you would get an extra point here on Ravaging Mirage. Now, that is everything for the skills, and now let's go for the passives. The passives, as you can see here, I'm going to talk a little bit about something important. Cadence is a mechanic that we use for bosses mainly. We don't really care that much about it when we are clearing. We are just shifting and using Lethal Mirage. Maybe sometimes if you see a big mob, you can use a synchronized strike and then shift and Lethal Mirage in that order, please. Or if you have 0 lethal cadence stacks, you can also within the puncture. Do remember that if you are using coated blades, I recommend it when you are already in a high gear situation or with high mana. You can get, as you can see on my gear, I didn't even have that much max mana or a lot of regeneration, but you can use it and play with it. The whole combo can cost up to 160, 170, depending on your regeneration. You will be able to do this or not. The good thing at this is that we have a little bit of a break in between because of how Barion's chariot works. Now, of course, we are not using Twin Blade because we are not dual wielding. That makes us not be able to get duelists, but we don't care that much. I'm using 8 points on Steady Hand because Dexterity it's a really, really good scaling tool for our damage. You could also get Swift Assassin, but we don't really want physical damage. Now here, these 6 points of Guile, you only really need 1. So you can take these 5 off if you already have enough points for, in this case I'm using it because of the poison resistance, but if you get poison resistance as LP or other thing, you can use these 5 points that I put over here in the Blade Dancer tree. Now, the Blade Dancer tree, you know, there is a lot of cool things that we can use. Here, I'm using Cloak of Shadows because we really want that glancing blow chance, and also gives dexterity, really good points. One Shroud of Dusk to get to Apostasy, that makes it so you have your dodge chance converted to glancing blows. You cannot dodge. In this case, remember that the silver shrouds become useless, but you can also get those shrouds by attacking, and silver shrouds would make it so you just have 100% glancing blow, but our goal anyway is to get that 100% by baseline, making it so we always take less damage. You also have points on Pursuit. You can also take these points off until 5 and put them elsewhere while you are leveling and doing other things. Now, these are the ones that I really recommend that you max them to get used to. 5 on flow, 1 on rhythm, and 5 on tempo. Flow, of course, gives us a lot of damage. Rhythm makes it so we can get to tempo, but also gives us some attack speed for things that care about attack speed. Lethal Mirage does not. Synchronized Strike and Puncture do. Tempo, of course, it's making us do more damage and also get more critical multiplier. I'm putting one in Scarlet Stone and Crimson Shroud to get some Crimson Shroud while we are clearing and some general bleed chance that works also to get those 20 stacks while we are using our Lethal Mirage. Now, damage on full life. This will be really good because we leech with Lethal Mirage and we are invulnerable on the other version. On this one, we are not, so we can get hit while using it. But from what I saw on the clips in the release thing, it was really, really fast, making it easy to dodge. This will depend on your skill, but also perfection. When you hit and don't get hit, you get this extra damage. Of course, at 10 stacks, you get 10 maximum damage. So 10 stacks, 10% damage, 100% extra damage, really good. Here you get some armor and some dodge. With this node, you cap the glancing blow chance with my gear. You can get a little bit more if you want. And we have hooked blades, really, really good. Armor shred, it's always good because remember, shredding armor make it so mobs take more damage in general. Exuberance makes it so you get 2 stacks of perfection per hit, making it so getting to 10 it's easier, and you also get 10% extra damage for free. Here I put 1 point in Spellbreaker to get some frailty chance. You can also get frailty chance by your neck or your weapon or other places. It also gives a little bit of mana regen. If you want, you can put this point elsewhere to get extra damage. Shadow Master, this is the one that I recommend that you get first on this row when you get to the points needed, because it gives us 1 maximum shadow. And then there's the critical edge. Remember, we don't care about the critical vulnerability or the critical strike chance, but we do care about critical strike multiplier. We will get a lot of multiplier from this node, but we will not do much damage with our non-criticals and with damage over time. I am also a big enjoyer of Death's Door. Makes it so one-shotting is really, really hard between Endurance when you cap it at 60% and Death's Door that you get 24% less damage taken, and now with the new helmet that you also get some damage to your mana that also works with Endurance. This is going to make us a lot resilient. That's also why Crimson Shrouds are good things, because you get extra less damage from attacks of Crimson Shroud. And when, of course, I also recommend when you get to Bion's Charge, maybe you can even get it before, you get Raptor's Wings. We already have many ways to get haste. We are going to get it anyway from random hits and other things, and you also get more damage. All the other points are whatever. I used to get the stamina of the rover and the wilderness scout before when I was super pressed on mana, but now I don't need it. You can also get the Outlander's tenacity. It's kind of good because you get a lot of extra endurance threshold, and you make it easier to cap the dodge rating. If you want to get a little bit more defensive, I recommend you do that. Get a 1 point on here on Wilderness Assault, and then get that extra health as endurance threshold. So that will be everything that I can say before we get into the game. Of course, I'm going to, like I did with my other build. Right now, this is focused on people that are already on the Eternal Realm. Remember, when there's a new cycle, our characters still stay in the Eternal Realm. So if you want to keep playing and want a cool build to play with your rogue, blade dancer, and already have a lot of money and a lot of gear available and cool things to do, if you don't really are not of the cycle gaming, you can use snap a blade of chaos and put any legendary potential, lightning melee damage, increased lightning, shred armor. Those are all good. The rolls that we care about are, in this case, the critical strike multiplier on the implicit, dexterity, lightning penetration, and extra lightning melee damage. We don't care about shock and hit, time rot, the melee damage, and void penetration. I mean, they will do quite a lot of damage extra, because with all of the multipliers that we have, we don't really care about that one. That's why I also said if you have an void resistance, you can get the void shred, because we are also doing damage with doom things. Maybe it's a little bit of extra damage for free. And it also helps to stun mobs. Remember, the highest your damage is, the easier to stun. So that is everything, and keep in mind that I will do the cycle builds also for the thing with basic gear, then medium gear, and then late game gear like I did before. So that is everything. Have a nice day, and I will see you next video.